So if you're new here to the channel and you like the fat red hamster, or you think Rin is hot, because she totally is always, right? Or if you're returning here, please give a like and sub if you haven't, especially if you find the content useful. I try my best to really give you guys the most straightforward approach to doing things, and making Linux, and DWM and Arch Linux less intimidating, because I remember the first time I used Arch Linux, I was definitely taken aback for a second, but then you kind of fall in love with it, because it's really making the system yours. There is no Arch Linux configuration unless you're borrowing from somebody else, but if you're really putting it together, there is no configuration that's like yours. And if you want to take it a step further, you can go to Gentoo, which I'm considering doing, but I just don't want to deal with compile times, because I have a dual core 4-thread system here, and I imagine compiling a kernel will take hours, and compiling Firefox, oh my god, or like Chrome or something like that, will be insane. So if I ever do upgrade my laptop, I think I might try Gentoo. Maybe. I really like it. It's the only part of Linux that I've never dabbled in. And I really love tinkering with systems and machines and stuff. So I'm really considering going to Gentoo. But anyway, let's get on to the topic of this video, which is this fat hamster had a bit of a setback. So I was just on my PC, doing work, and I had updated the kernel, so I was like, you know what, let me reboot. And when I rebooted, I had the weirdest message ever, and I don't know if I would call this a broken system, because it wasn't too bad, but it really, if you're in the middle of doing something and then you reboot your system and this happens, it'll make you kind of panic. So initially I was like, oh boy, I lost everything. But then I was, read the effing prompt, right? That's what you got to do. So I'm looking at the prompt, and then I see this message, failed to mount boot, and then unknown file system vfat. So I was like looking through Google trying to figure out a solution, and I went through so many loops just to try to fix this, and I'll give the final one that worked for me, and I tried so many. So the first one that I tried to do was by going into a live install and chrooting into my root directory and reinstalling the kernel, and this did not work for me. For some reason, it just did not like that. Every time I would install the kernel, it would say updated, right? I would check the mount points and all that, because the issue is that the kernel updates, but the module that it's looking at is from the previous kernel version. So I tried to downgrade, and the weirdest part is that I'm on links, right, and I'm trying to go and download the kernel, and I do. Once I download it, then I install it, and my kernel versions aren't like matching up. So everything was just a disaster for about maybe 6 hours, until I just went back into that boot screen, and it gives you an option, and I wish that I had screenshotted it, but when you see this message, it'll let you say, type in the root password so that you can get into recovery mode. And this, oddly enough, worked. I just ran this command, sudo pacman linux, and I reinstalled the kernel. So if you're ever at that recovery screen, all you have to do is reinstall the kernel. And once I rebooted, it worked. And you can check if you have this issue, because on the boot screen you can query the packages and the actual kernel running, and you'll see that they won't match like this. And this is why you're getting the unknown file system error, because it's trying to look at modules from a different kernel version. So it's not pointing to the right direction. So it'll give you this error because it can't load the modules. So this is definitely one of the weirdest things that I've ever seen. It's never happened to me on any Linux distro, and this is the first time it's ever happened to me on Arch Linux. But the fix is very easy. When you boot your system, it'll say failed to load modules. Go through with that, and type your password in to get into recovery mode, and then just reinstall the kernel by doing pacman s Linux. The only thing that you'll have to make sure of is that you have the package saved. You have to have the package in your cache. So I have this thing where I will clear, whoops, not nano, what am I doing? Bash. I have an alias here, and this this alias here, yay up, it clears the package cache, and I just realized why this is dangerous. And I had never really thought about it, but this will clear out all the packages in cache. So if you have no cached packages and you're trying to reinstall everything, it won't work. You'll have to find a way to download the Arch Linux kernel and then move it onto a flash drive or something, and then get it onto your system, or maybe you'll have to just chroot into the system again in the live install CD. But I'm considering clearing the cache from here because I was lucky and fortunate that I had internet access and I was able to download the kernel just to try to reinstall it, so it worked for me. So this might be a little bit dangerous actually, but again, that's how you learn, right? So that's about it for this one. I wish that I could actually go through a system that has this issue. Maybe I'll redo this video if I can get the same issue happening in a VM, if I can reproduce the issue, because I still do not understand why this happened, because probably once a day I'll just run my update, and I'll update all the packages. If it's a kernel update, I'll reboot my system, but I don't do anything else. I don't have many packages installed, so I don't know how that file system error happened and how the kernel modules didn't seem to update as the kernel was updating itself, which was very weird. And I have never seen anything like this before, and it came from left field, so. But a good way to see this is when you get into that recovery screen, when you're booting in and it fails to load the modules, is to run these commands here. So if you run uname a, it'll show you your kernel version, and then you'll see the package version. And if they don't line up, then you know that that you have a problem. So the easiest way to fix it that I found was to just do a pacman s Linux to reinstall the kernel, and you would do this in your actual system, not in chrooting in the live install, because some people recommended that, but it just didn't work for me, and it was really driving me nuts. But after about 5 hours I got my system back. I can reboot it and everything is great. So anyway, if you appreciate the content, Rin is hot, or you felt the pain of having that weird kernel mismatch error, and this video was useful to you, please give a like and a sub, because the fat fluffy hamster would really appreciate it.